Morning, Kindlech. Here to God willing record Os Test, the final Os of the Mimer from Acharon Shel Pesach Tuf Shin. Be nice to have recorded an entire Mimer. I still have to edit possibly and certainly post Os Zion, but it is recorded. Hope you believe me. And I'll try to do a better job of recording in order in the future so you can get them up in a more orderly way and hopefully get the website a little more organized too. Be nice. Anyway, as always, learning to bind our souls to God, give pleasure, God, hasten, redemption, and give the Rebbe Nachas, and increase his Malchus, and make it known he is our Redeemer, and we need him. We need him back in a full sense. I don't see the Rebbe in a physical body. It'd be nice. If we do, if anyone sees him, they need to tackle him and keep him here so we can have him forever, ever, and never leave him alone so we can't, I don't know what type of stuff he can do, but if he could zip in and out, then we're going to prevent that by, hopefully if he's never alone, he can't do that, or maybe if he could, then we'll just have to tackle him and hold him physically the entire time so he can't leave, because we miss him and we love him, and yeah, as much as he's with us, we want him 100% fully with us in the lead so we can just follow him. Because he's a brave-hearted, perfect, beautiful, unbelievable leader. Leading's harder than I thought sometimes. It's different than what I expected. You know, I wasn't born and raised to be a leader. I wasn't born taught I was going to be a leader. I did some leading in the honor society and this and that, but I wasn't that invested in the mission. I didn't care. I led well, but wasn't much at stake. I feel like possibly going to be some sort of global leader of the Jewish people because of the Leonhard unique gifts Hashem's endowed me with. And I really thought I don't know what the right way to put it is, but it's been made clear to me in the last 24 hours that my commitment to the mission isn't everything it could be, which I really thought it was. I really thought I was 100% into it, but it's clear to me now I could be doing a lot more. And it hurts. It really hurts. And I don't know if I have the skills to do more, and it feels like a big mountain in front of me, and can I get there? And yeah, I'm here for you now, but I feel like it's maybe more interesting or important or valuable or meaningful or connecting worthy for you to connect to me. Part of the journey, you know, I'm a young leader trying to find his way. I don't have all the answers, but I don't think anyone can fault my effort. My commitment might not have been what I thought it was, but it wasn't for lack of effort, it was for lack of awareness. That's nice. So now that I'm aware, I'm trying to increase, but these types of increases are, you know what the word is, a little different, and I'm not feeling that empowered to have the skills or tools to make this move. The other things is, could I get my hand on the tool? Do I have the commitment to grab the tool at that minute? Even if I do have the global commitment, can I grab it at that second? Can I use it? It all seemed like it was there, and I sort of knew how to do it. It was just a question of application. Here it's more, how do I get to it? So, anyway, struggling a little with that, trying to see, you know, how to overcome these new obstacles in front of me, and feeling a little unempowered about how to do it, and would like to get there. For sure, love it to be easy. But you never know. Hashem could turn on a big light, make it much easier. Hashem is so powerful, or could get figured out. Somebody could help me. I could get some inspiration. But the emotional state when I choose to think about it, which probably isn't the time now, is to see this big mountain that I don't know how to climb. Which I think we can all relate to isn't a pleasant state. So let's try to chop down the mountain, take bite-sized pieces. And I am already seeing some fruit, but my personal happiness and open and revealed enthusiasm has been compromised. Maybe that's part of the mission. Maybe maybe the leader doesn't get to be so happy or whatever it is. But it's certainly more pleasant to lead and do what you have to do with enthusiasm and simcha. I think a leader also has enthusiasm and simcha, and I think it might be more important than having skills. So I feel like I'm not leading as well because my simcha and my enthusiasm are down. But I will try to model a lesson I think is very hard. All these things I'm thinking about, it's not the time now. Now is the time to learn the mimer, post the video, do the work. We're here to work. And there are times to think about these things, but it's not in the middle of your day, because you see it takes away from what you need to do. So I will try. Let's see. Let's do it strong. I'm gonna put these thoughts and feelings aside for the time being. I'm gonna tell my Yetzer Hara I'm interested in what he has to say, because anything that keeps you down is Yetzer. God wants you happy and good and going. Doesn't expect you to be perfect. Expects you to be where you are. I just don't know how he put me in this spot when my skills are what they are presently. But he knows what he's doing better than I know what I'm doing. So he must have a plan. He's got my back. He knows what the right thing is, and I must be gonna get there. He didn't set me up to fall. Obviously, I have to trust him more. And if a person has trust in God, they have everything. That is the one solution for any and all things. A person has it. If you just trust God, everything's perfect. There's just nothing to worry about. You can't be unhappy. It's a perfect world because God's got your back and God's got the plan. God's got the world. It's not up to you. And even if you, God forbid, messed up, God had in mind you were going to mess up. And don't trade me around about free choice right now. That's a lecture for another time. The smarties tend to trip themselves up with that, but it's pretty simple. The fact that you know that your kid's going to throw his coat on the floor every single day as soon as he comes home from school does not interrupt his ability to choose whether or not he's going to throw the coat on the floor. What God knows and your choice are separate things. The fact that he knows what you're going to choose does not affect your choice. Alright, but let's not stray around about that. People seem to think it's a big deal. It's not. It's pretty straight. I don't know how people trip themselves up, but don't think yourself into a circle. It's not the end of the world. And see, when you get out of yourself and start thinking about the other guy, you can be happy. And so when I think about me, I'm not happy. I have to think about the other guy. If I can be focused on the other guy, it's very liberating. But when I get the feelings of processing me, where like I don't have the skills because I'm in a me zone, it's not the happiest place. And also, but it's in a certain way, I have to take my own minutes and say, I'm really happy place because I get to think about me and I'm entitled to think about me and But I mean, it is important that I increase my skill set and become a better leader or whatever you want to call what I'm doing. Better king, possibly. I mean, talk about a wild word. Whatever the appropriate title is, whatever I'm doing, it is important to improve. But the time to make these calculations and meditations is at set times. So most people who are busy, they set aside 5 minutes by Kriyat Shema and Mita when they say the bedtime Shema. And 5 minutes to meditate on yourself and what you want to do is a long time. To meditate on God, that could spend hours and hours because God's infinite great and there's a lot to think about. Then when you think about God, it's very liberating. Anything but yourself. Think about God, how good He is, how infinite He is, beyond space and time. Don't tell you God how big your problems are. Tell your problems how big God is. It's not a problem. Just bring more God into the equation. And you just move your flesh and show up and do the right thing. Anyway, so Yetzer, I hear what you're saying, but I would appreciate it if we could talk later, 11 at night. Right now we have work to do. And this is a very valuable tool. I'd like you probably to take this more than anything in the videos. Your Yetzer, the Yetzer can be very receptive to this tool. You'd be surprised. Because what is the Yetzer? The Yetzer wants to be a counselor, and he knows he's second fiddle. Or she knows you can kick her out at any moment. He or she knows you are the boss, and you can drive him or her out any second. Because of that, what his main goal, if here, is just to make sure he stays in the house. How does he want to stay in the house? First, he gives you good advice. Oh, what you're saying is, compliments you. Oh, that's good. What you're saying is so smart. I like it. Even if it's toward mitzvahs, they'll say, what you're saying is really good, but maybe don't be so excited about it, or God forbid, or something like this. And then as he gets a little more counsel, and he pumps up your ego and your esteem, and God forbid you're listening a little more, then he'll start to suggest, okay, we'll have an extra piece of steak, you like it, and then, he sinks, God forbid, he could sink a person in more and more until he could, God forbid, talk him into something really not so good, really not good, God forbid, a Avodah or something like that. So if you use a technique like Yetzer, I'm interested in what you say, but could we please speak later? He or she is often very receptive. You'd be surprised. I get a lot of relief from that. Not as much as I'd like, but a lot. I got a lot more relief from thinking about the other guy and helping the other guy and helping you. And thinking about God and His infinite greatness and how much bigger He is than my problems. And one of the nice things, I got a lot of self-smashing out of this process, which is nice. Now I'm a much greater vessel for godliness and God's revelation. The godliness that I experienced when thinking about it was much more revealed and palpable now because there's less fundamental me in the way. A person's ego goes up and down throughout the day, but this was a big smash. Anyway, just able to feel a lot more godliness, thankful for that, and much more present. And there's a lot of gifts that are coming from it. If I think about God's greatness, infinite infinity, his oneness, and how he's so much greater than my problems, I get a much more greater feeling than I had in the past, because it just penetrates through and through a lot more, because there's less me blocking it, which is nice. But, now I'm thinking about the other guy and how to help him, and be focused on him and how to help him. This is also a great relief. Put it up. Actually, I'd make a nice shot, put it on this wall here. Put up a frame of my Smicha certificate. And get the day on it. That would be nice. That would look good. Now I'm getting some good me time. You see, it come all over. Anyway, main things keep the ball moving to what God wants. Focus on the task in hand. Alright, guy goes into a job interview and they say, what would you like for a starting salary? And he says, how about $375K? $375,000. The interviewer says, how about a company car, 6 weeks paid vacation, we match your retirement up to 50%. And the interviewee says, you're kidding. You're kidding, right? And the interviewer says, yeah, but you started it. Alright, so Os Tes. Now hopefully we're going to talk about the verses, and this is the end, and put the whole piece together. Talk about this idea of Hashem will show you wonders when it comes to the wonders that presently a guy doesn't even see. It doesn't even know the miracle happened to him. He'll see the infinite hand of God in it. And I suggested maybe he'll see all the details behind the scene that led up to it, the particular divine providence of it. And we should have the ultimate redemption right away. And also by the miracles that are beyond nature. Before, we were only able to see the effect, but not the actual how it was done and the essence of it. And in the future redemption, we have it right away. We'll see actually how it works and how it goes down in the whole what's behind it. We won't just see the sea split. We'll see God splitting the sea. Alright, Os Tes. V'yesh lomer dema chachilukim bein hakasav kimei seitz etzrayim reinu l'fos v'kasav l'mon tizkar tziyom seitz etzrayim kol yimei heyach hashilmenu the meeting shemeskrim yisitz etzrayim gam yimos Mashiach. And we could say that one of the differences, and I should mention, just to say Chassidus made me feel better. Chassidus is medicine, purity, therapy, healing. I should have been saying more Chassidus in my state, my whatever you want to call it. Chassidus heals. Well, make a blanket statement. Chassidus heals all wounds, God willing. I hope I'm not a perfect doctor, that I know everything about everything, but it's a nice thing to say. Chassidus heals all wounds. If you put yourself into Chassidus, you're going to feel better, because your Etzem Dika soul is going to come out, and you're going to feel God's oneness, and you're going to know everything's alright. Even if you're not perfect, everything's okay, and God's got your back. So Chassidus is therapy, and it's wonderful. It's a great thing to say. What did the Rebbe Melech Mashiach actually say? He says that amongst the differences between the two verses that we've been analyzing, one is like in the days of you going out of Egypt, I will show you wonders, and the other one is talking that you're going to mention going out of Egypt all the days of your life, even including the days of Mashiach. And we had a lot of why are you going to talk about going out of Egypt in the days of Mashiach? Isn't going to be small potatoes? And we mentioned this pipe opener idea. I've been trying to understand this verse in many ways about, like, the days you went out of Egypt, why plural days, what's I will show you, aren't these, what do you mean, show me wonders like, isn't it the wonders going to be so much greater, how are they going to be so much greater and like? So the Rebbe is saying now that possibly one of the differences between the two verses is that Kasav Kimei Seitzim and Sraim and Reinu flows. The verse talking about, like, the days of you going out of Egypt, I will show you wonders, but Nabu Gula Sida, it's mostly talking about the ultimate redemption. You should have it right away. It's saying in the ultimate redemption you're going to see these unbelievable wonders. And in the saying, like, and it says, like in the days of your going out of Egypt, that this is what gives the power, so to speak, that Hashem will show you wonders in the future redemption, that they will be from the days of you going out of Egypt. There's a lot to say about that. Alright, I'll try to put that together for you. Need a second. Tell many times in this mimer that there's many levels of Egypt. There's the physical Egypt that we went out of many thousands of years ago. And then there's the typical Egypt every day. A person wakes up and a Jew wakes up, their neshama's only in their nostrils. They feel kind of physical. This is normal. Then through prayer and learning, the neshama draws through their body and out into the world. And they can start to feel more spiritual. And some of that depends on personal refinement and how, I don't want to say not nice, but how beastly they are, how much they've worked on themselves. A person really sinks himself in at the food table every day, even though it's kosher food, even if the shama starts to shine through, it's like shining through mud, it's like, how far can the light go? But if a person's defined himself where he's I guess I'm setting the bar pretty high. Persons refine themselves where they eat for God. They're not, and even if even if they do taste and enjoy the food, doesn't take away, but that their intent is to get strength to serve God, and the things that they do throughout their day is with God on their mind, not for their personal satisfaction or money or greed or whatever, God forbid. Then, as through their prayer and their learning, their neshama will start to shine through, and they'll feel a little more spiritual. But even such a person, Leonhara, could have limits from their past, psychological limits, emotional limits, fear, and whatever it is that could be in their psychology or mental state. There's other limits too I can't think of right now. So as we transcend these limits, and we have a special opportunity in Nissan here, let's make the most of it. Only a few days left. You can start to overcome and transcend those boundaries. And I'm going to say, if he gets through and he feels inspired, it's important to make vessels and take the inspiration and invest it into a good act and thought so that it will stay. It won't just be like a flittering thing. If he takes the inspiration and, I don't know what the right word is, but I like the model. If a person gets $1 million seed money and he's happy that he's got the $1 million, but he chooses to buy crack, he's going to end up with nothing. God forbid he should buy crack. But if he invests it properly, he could have trillions of dollars or whatever it is. But it takes hard work and focus, investment, and be smart, and might be one step back, 2 steps forward sometimes. But so too, a person gets inspiration. It's important to invest in particularly in good godly deeds, so that he'll be able to hold on to it and increase his inspiration and get more and go higher and higher. Because a Jew is a mover and a shaker and go always higher and higher. And even the small falls are for the big rises. You have to remember every little fall is for a big rise. And if I can keep in mind that my backwards must be for a mungo forward, then that, it makes me a little happier, And if I trust God and I work at it, I trust I'll get there. It takes a lot of trust and effort, and you have to put in your part, but you have to do it at the right time, the right places. So there's a constant going out of Egypt, more and more. Let's call it refinement, which is the word the Rebbe Malcolm Mashiach used in Oskaz. So as a person becomes refined and the world becomes more refined, it becomes more a vessel for this revelation of godliness, this idea of I will show you wonders. And I've suggested in the past that, certainly there is a level of godliness that just fits into the world perfectly. And I think it's easiest to see if you look at any place where man isn't. If you look at nature, in a setting where man isn't involved, it runs perfectly, it's godly, it's very organized, it's beautiful. Yeah, there is hunt and prey, but it's part of the godly cycle that things need to live. And we're just, we get our meat at the supermarket, so it seems very different to us, but same thing. And some, there are things that don't eat meat. I don't really eat meat, but it's not that I don't like it, it's just, it's not so good for me. Sort of turned into a vegan by default. It's not that I don't like those foods or have any philosophical issues with those things. It's just like lighter fare that makes me feel good and gives me more energy. Especially if I don't get a chance to work out that much. And I do work out, regularly, Leonhara, but it's not the same like, in the past when I could eat what I wanted and hit the weights and run and tackle the guy. No, it's a little Stairmaster, a little this, a little that. Just kind of keep it moving, the blood pump, and try to stay healthy. Anyway, we're constantly going out of Egypt. And the idea of getting out of Egypt the first time when Hashem took us out was the pipe opener for all these other types of transcending limit, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. And when a person transcends enough limit and becomes refined enough and their soul is shining enough and they've worked on their mind and increased their understanding enough, then they're going to see a godly world, because the world you see is dependent on your understanding. And the physicality of the world is the physicality of the world, but the physicality of the world is godly. It's God enlivening everything you see around you, from His creating it from His innermost essence. He's enlivening with a particular beam for that thing, so it should be that and not something else. So if you're using the model of a tree or a plant, the tree is the tree that you see, but when you didn't know anything about trees, you just saw the physicality of the tree. As you go to know much more about trees, you start to see the inner work. The tree looks different. You see, I don't know much about trees, but you see the inner workings of the tree, or that we talked about a car mechanic increasing his knowledge. He's going to see the car different. His mind's going to be different. So as your mind becomes a more God-focused, God-centered mind, the world you look around is going to look different. It's going to look more godly. And if we can reach the level, let's just say this natural level where godliness fills the world, where we perceive we're living in a godly world, but just on a natural state, the world looks physically the same, but instead of seeing just physicality, you see godliness. But it looks the same, and you see the tree. I'm suggesting this becomes a vessel for a level of godliness higher than world, that transcends world and beyond space and time, because oneness tends to fuse with oneness. We're learning chemistry, nerdy time, that like dissolves like. So I'm suggesting this possibility that then a higher level of godliness that's higher than world will come in, start to experience that, live on this level, then a higher level than that could come in where it's just God himself, and a person could even live on such a place. That's nice to say, where it's just God himself, he's expressing himself, there's no other expression, and all there is godliness. That's a happy, strong, comfortable place. Nice if a person could be there. I just want to say that all day. Where it's just God, God himself, but we got to keep it moving. And there's nothing else but God. That's a nice spot. But God wants us moving and shaking, and God wants variety. He didn't have to make a zillion different things. Although God's the simplest things, he is the tachlis of pshitas, the ultimate simplicity. He has capacity for infinite variety. Say something interesting. So the original going out of Egypt, this original actual physical leaving Egypt, opened the pipe for all these other types of transcending boundaries. So and so too in this concept of I will show you wonders, the ability to show you wonders is depending on your level of transcendence, where you're holding, how much of your physicality have you transcended, how much of your psychology have you transcended, how much of your emotional stuff have you transcended. And depending on that, the more wondrous the world you're going to see, and the more wondrous your default level is, the more oneness that's in your default level, the higher oneness the Sam could show you. But it all started with going at it. So the more you break the boundaries, the more godliness you can see, the more godliness you can see, the more God can reveal to you. And you can go higher and higher. I'm pretty happy with that. So when we talk about going out of Egypt, that it gave the potential for Shem should show us wonders in the future redemption. The potential came from going out of Egypt. Alright, let's just try to put a one-liner on that, because now we're moving into the other verse. The verse Kimia Seit said is talking about the ultra redemption, and it teaches you that going out of Egypt is the pipe opener for all the wonders that you're going to see, because as you become more and more a vessel through leaving your boundaries, you become more and more a vessel for wonders. The verse about mentioning going out of Egypt every day, even in the ultimate redemption, you have it right away, or particularly in the days of Mashiach, was the language here, and holding myself back from saying about that, which was said in the parsha discussing guard this month in the spring and make your Pesach. The Pesach Inyan Sitzrayim, which Pesach is the idea of going out of Egypt, jumping and running. It's not an orderly way. We ran out of there. They pushed us out of there. We sprinted out of there. And it says that all the days of your life, to include the days of Mashiach, Shekamana Begula, do you see it's Yisraim? It's really discussing a little bit more the going out of Egypt. You're in the ultimate redemption Shabbat right away. We're discussing going out of Egypt. Hold on one second. Fine. Alright, so let's say a little about. So Mashiach, little quick kitzur on Mashiach. It's not the place, but I can't hold myself back. Never heard us talk about Mashiach. And when I first came to Crown Heights, I thought everyone was Yechi, and then I'm hearing guys say from one philosophy to the other end of the world, trying to figure it out. So I sunk myself in the books, and I said, I'm going to see what Torah says, and I don't have to worry what all this jibber jabber is. So here's some very basics about Mashiach, so you can feel a little bit founded. 2 levels. The presumed guy, like every generation, Moses, David, etc. And then the real deal guy, the presumed guy, has to be from the line of King David, superstar in Torah and mitzvahs, compel the Jews to walk in the ways of Hashem and fix the breaches and fight the wars of God, which the commentators explain mean fight the enemies of the Jews. The real deal guy has to gather up the Yidden and build a temple in his place or its place, depending on how you teach it, and in its place is a simpler, straighter taich, and the Rebbe has a sikh about that. It's interesting also to think about this concept of King David. Alright, so those are the basics of who is Mashiach. Does he have to do miracles? No. If he does, it's not a problem. Why do we want the redemption? Not so we can rule over the Goyim, so we can learn Torah all day long, we're free. It says, when a person sees the importance of something, he'll do it. So when the non-Jews see how important it is that Jews are involved in Torah and mitzvahs, they'll take care of our work for us so we can spend our days learning. But you better spend them learning, because they're out there working hard for you. And the Sheva mitzvahs are important, and the God loves non-Jews also, and he gave them a way to connect. They don't have to look anywhere but the Chumash. But anyway, what characterizes and there's 2 stages in the era of redemption. The first stage, natural order, isn't interrupted. Eat, sleeping, everything continues normally, and it's just elevated to a much more godly place. You put the gola, exile, and gula are just one letter different. Aleph. The things that in your life now that you need, you're just going to insert the aleph in there a little more godliness into it. And a little less exile, a little less you, and imagining you're dependent on these things, and you need these things, and you worry if you don't have them. No, just put the God in. It's all for God, and it's eternal, it's good. But what characterizes it? There must be something. Yeah, there's no more subjugation to the Goyish nations. And there is a debate now. Have we reached this stage? The side that wants to say yes says, look, a Jew who's Nebuch, even God forbid, living in Iran, which isn't the most friendly place for a Jew, can still get kosher food and a mikvah and live a perfectly kosher life. No worries. I mean, he has political worries and maybe, just what's his security level, but all the Jews should be safe and live forever and ever, and then anyone who's in the dust should come back to life. We should have them right away. Robert Gordon should be back with us. Grandparents, I miss you guys. Miss Robert Gordon a lot. Wish you were here, you giant Saudi. Come back. I need you. Fill the world. I know. He loves me. I love him too. Anyway. The side that wants to say, no, we haven't reached this stage, will say you can't find a government in the world that functions by Torah law. That if it's true we're not subjugated to Goyish nations, then we should be living by Torah law. So, you can see how you want to look at it. It's little, are you glass full, glass empty, whatever it is. It's always usually more inspiring to look on the positive side. It would be nice to think that we've started this stage. And the Rebbe says in other places that the gathering of the exiles has started, which is pretty intense. Think what you want about that, and there's plenty to say, and hopefully we'll get more on the web, and you can decide for yourself. Because your connection to the Rebbe has to be personal. Don't let anyone force you. You have to decide how much you want. But as much as you want the Rebbe, believe me, he wants you, and he'll be there for you more and more and more. But you have to make, you have to want it. You have to make a vessel. You have to try. But I can guarantee, bli on heart, bli netter, you're not going to be let down, God willing. And in terms of your belief in Mashiach, for someone who's just starting that journey, I would rather the excitement was about Mashiach rather than whether it was about the Rebbe's Mashiach. That's my personal philosophy. I don't know if that's correct or not, but I think the main thing is to be excited about Mashiach and get us there and do the things that get us there. Spend a lot of time to debate, where the Rebbe fits in. Hopefully will be an intellectual approach for you, not an emotional approach, and you'll learn the books and you'll see what Rambam says and you'll make up your mind and you'll feel secure in what you say because you took an intellectual path as opposed to an emotional path. But let's be pumped up for Mashiach redemption. Let's just get there. The main thing is to get there. And in terms of the Rebbe, if he's going to be more human, go for the relationship side. Just build a relationship and you'll get there. But I think it's interesting to know when the Rebbe, there's 12 Mivsoyim campaigns, teach people about tefillin, Shabbos candles, books, Taharas Mishpacha, etc. But by Mifsa Mashiach, teaching people about Mashiach, the Rebbe said it has to be added 2 words that weren't by any of the other Mivsoyim, was be'ofen tiskabel. It has to be in a manner it's received. You have to really try to tailor make it to the other party and get it to fit in. It's not something you can force. Although I wonder if it means you can tackle a guy and put tefillin on him. I don't know that that's what it means, but if be'ofen tiskabel is only by mitzvah tefillin, it has to be in a way the guy gets it. Maybe by the other ones you can. But believe me, I'm not suggesting you'll tackle anyone, put tefillin on them. I'm just making a point and trying to lighten the mood a little. Although Mashiach is a wonderful topic and happy and good, but it can be serious too. But anyway, I heard something interesting about Ba'ofen Tiskabel recently. I thought Ba'ofen Tiskabel until recently. I've been at this journey about 12 years, 10 depending on the account, playing hard, impersonating a chassid to the best of my ability, as I like to say. You have to be a perfect chassid. It's very difficult to be close. A person can impersonate, but to be perfect, it's like chemistry. To get something close with a little bit of waste in it's not so hard. You can get anyone up the street, but to get it pure and crystalline, that's where the big bucks are. That's what takes a lot of effort and time and energy and focus and power and commitment. Be a pure chassid is it's quite an accomplishment. It's a lot of effort. So that's why I like to say impersonate. When I'm trying, we're getting there day by day with Shem Pesach. Anyway, so too. See, you start for bringing, sometimes you forget where the train wanted to go. Anyway, form your relationship with the Rebbe and get excited about Mashiach, and you'll find your way there. There's a lot to say. Just thought I was bringing out a point. I guess I have been at this journey a while, and when you know what the books say, you feel a lot more confident and comfortable. But Ba'ofen Tiskabel. So I thought if the guy wasn't into it, you just left him alone, respected his space. And someone explained to me, no, it doesn't mean you just leave him alone. It means you got to figure out a way that he can receive it. You don't push him, you don't hurt him, you respect his space. But it doesn't mean you give up either. You keep trying to find a way until he can hear it to get through. So that was an eye-opener for me that happened in my journey within this past year. So we're always growing and learning. But yeah, the Rebbe's here for you to the degree you want to connect to him, and he's there for you more than you're there for him. I mean, he just loves you beyond belief, especially if you're trying. He's proud of you, he's happy with you, all these things. And, you want to be versed in Mashiach. So, here, when it says that we're mentioning going out of Egypt in the days of Mashiach, there's the early stage where nature's functioning, and there's the later stage where there's the enlivening of the dead, which happened right away, and all the superstar miracles. Okay, so the verse about mentioning going out of Egypt, even in the ultimate redemption, its primary focus is here, and it said in the days of Mashiach, its primary focus is talking about Egypt. You're in the ultimate redemption, you have it right away, and you're talking about going out of Egypt. So what's on your head is going out of Egypt. When the other verse you're saying, like the days of going, I'll show you wonders. You're talking about what is the verse referring to? Future redemption. So one verse is mostly focusing on future redemption, and the verse we're talking about now, about mentioning every day, is talking about going out of Egypt. It scares him. It's this idea that going out of Egypt should be drawn into the future days. The first verse taught you that going out of Egypt gives you the power and the potential for all this great stuff in the future days. The second verse is teaching you need to activate this power every single day to make it happen and remind yourself and get going and get out of Egypt so that you'll get there. And that there's no end point to getting there. You can always go higher and higher and infinitely closer to God. Even if a Jew's soul is sourced in God's essence, if you can believe that. So what does that mean? On the level of essence, everything's on a state of potential. A person could elevate themselves to the state, bring down brand new qualities, and be a brand new Jew. And even if they did, they're not done. They could do it again the next second, the next second, the next second. A Jew could be infinitely better every second. Infinitely more godly, more strong, more powerful, more confident, more esteemed, whatever it is. He has to go forward every second. Let me think about that for a second. More esteemed. Okay, I don't think that's the one. Anyway, so a Jew could reinvent him or herself every single second, go higher and higher. 1 second, please, and get closer and closer to God. Should be nice. But to remind themselves and get in touch with this started with going out of Egypt, where we got the Torah, where the higher worlds and lower worlds were previously separated, then they could merge. Because Atzmas showed up and merged physicality and spirituality. So if a person thinks of it this way, it can be a reminder of Atzmas, getting the Torah, the fusion of spiritual and physical, where everything comes together. And it should be drawn into whatever day he's in now, or she's in now after that. This power should be drawn in and should be used to transcend more boundaries and get closer to God, which will in turn reveal more godliness in their world, and they'll have a more godly experience and feel throughout their day. And only go higher and higher into the ultimate intention we should have it right away. So we talked a little bit earlier about why does it say days plural. So maybe to understand this idea of plural days, it goes hand in hand with the idea of mentioning going out of Egypt every day. Because every single day you're going out of Egypt. From the actual physical going out of Egypt in 2448 till now in 5776. That's a lot of days. I don't know, 3,300 times 365. That seems like a big number. That's a lot of days. So it should keep going, and we should have the ultimate redemption right away. So why are we mentioning going out of Egypt even in the days of Mashiach? Because the days of Mashiach is the idea of going out of Egypt. What is Mashiach? That you've transcended all boundaries. You're out of boundaries. There's nothing bounding you, and then you're just in a God space. God's unlimited. You broke through all the boundaries. Mashiach is here, and it just means God is fully present. Gewaldig. The Rebbe said it nicer than I said it. We can understand that every day since we actually physically left Egypt to the ultimate redemption we have it right away, that through each and every day is drawn the power that was the power of going out of Egypt into the future redemption, from potential to the actual. You go out of... We physically left Egypt. That was great. That was wonderful. We got the Torah. heaven and earth fused, spiritual and physical fused, and it's nice. And it was a level. There's levels of going out of Egypt. But there's, until we're in the ultimate redemption right away, there's further to go. But that further to go, it's not some hidden mystical thing. It's been open. The box is open, but a person doesn't necessarily have his hand in the box grabbing all the right pieces, but it's existing there in a state of potential. He can reach in there and get it. There is access. So as we go out of Egypt each and every day, transcend new boundaries, whatever it is, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, this is the idea of bringing this concept of the full going out of Egypt from the potential to the actual. He's getting out of Egypt more and more. He's actualizing his potential to be fully out of Egypt. So it's many, many days as a constant source, but it started with the original going out, and it gave us the ability to go out further and further till we're ultimately out, and the ultimate potential should have it right away. All right, last paragraph. Don't get a teary eye. We're going to, God willing, record more. I'm just going to keep going. Now that we've had this idea that the importance of going out of Egypt was to ultimately get to the future redemption, we should have it right away. Move on, it's understood. The fact that we mention going out of Egypt every day, and particularly if we say it on the night of Pesach, where we read the Haggadah, where you have the matzah and the morah in front of you. And in the days when the temple was standing, we should have that right away. I'm excited for the temple and the godly revelations. Oh, it's awesome. Oh, I'm sorry, I added a word. In the times that now that there's matzah and morah in front of us, in the times of the temple, we should have it right away. That in the future redemption, you're not just going to have the matzah and morah, you're going to have the Pesach offering itself. You're going to have the tasty flesh there. I don't know what I do if I'll eat it. Maybe I'll just eat a little to, do the mitzvah or whatever it is, but it's not that I don't like it. It's salty and it gives you power a little bit. It's heavy in your belly and it makes you feel like an animal, and then you feel grub, and it's hard to sleep right and keep your head up, and then you feel like a beast, and it's hard to feel godly. These type of things, but it's good. It's tasty. So you'll additionally have the Pesach in front of you as well as the matzah morah. So this idea of mentioning going out of Egypt every day, which is giving us the ability to transcend more and more boundaries every day and become more and more godly every day, breaking through the mental, emotional, physical, and psychological, and become more godly beings and perceive a more godly world and teach others, happens much more quickly through this mentioning. Since we're mentioning it, we brought it to mind. If you have the tools in the toolbox, you don't pick them up and you don't use them, they're gathering dust, God forbid you're not using them. But through this mentioning, human being is very attached to what's on the front burner. There's a lot in the back burner, but what's on the front burner is often driving the show at the moment. We have moments to live and do what we got to do. Hopefully we should have infinite moments. The Rebbe says many times we could have infinite life in these bodies. Just after Makabah Funei Mashiach Zikeno, which means memorize Mishnayos and say in the streets, and learn and teach and learn about Inyani Gula Mashiach, which we're doing now, and hopefully you'll pass a little along and teach it and spread out the well springs, as the Baal Shem Tov says. So the Rebbe Melech Mashiach's given us a guide for eternal life, all these things, that'd be great. But through mentioning it, it brings it from the back burner, or maybe you could say from a potential state to the front burner, a closer to actuality state. Then if we can get it on the front burner, and a person is often living in the space where their head is. Their head often dictates their mood, their actions. So if they have this right on the front burner of their head, then it's the right word. It helps them go out of Egypt and their boundaries. A person's facing something. I don't know why this comes to mind, but let's say there's a guy selling lawnmowers and he's afraid to deal with some big wig because the guy, whatever it is, and he happens to bring to mind at the moment that he's scared that this idea of going out of Egypt every day, and it gives that we mention going out of Egypt every day, and he's doing his personal mentioning at that time, but you can mention it many times in one day. But he mentions it to himself at that point, the going out of Egypt, and he thinks, I have the ability to transcend boundaries. God's here, and God's so much greater than my problems, and he transcends what I perceive. He brings the potential into the actual, and he starts to, and he remembers Matan Torah and the physicality and spirituality merging, and he remembers God's transcendence from an mystical level that something higher than physical and spiritual, where they can merge, and he reaches a state of confidence and negotiates with the guy perfectly. I don't know, just a silly example, but a way to look at things in a physical world. So through his remembering and mentioning going out of Egypt, he transcended his personal garbage at that moment, and he brought something from the potential into the actual, and he lived it. And he got us that much closer to the future redemption. Shav right away. So we bring it closer, this idea of seeing the wonders, and in that moment you could say he saw wonder. He might have experienced wonder. He says, wow, I didn't know I could do that. Look at the power of mentioning that verse. I transcended something I worked on for 40 years, and now I just did it. It's like, that was wondrous to me. I feel God's hand in that. I feel wondrous. I feel like the sea split. When a Jew is able to do a skafia, turn away from something they really want, that's greater than the splitting of the sea. I mean, the sea has a nature. God changed it. God can do anything. For you to change your nature, for you to go against your nature, if you just follow your nature, you're like a human animal. You're a humanimal, as I like to say. But a human has the ability to know God and pick against their nature because it's for God's good, and ultimately for their good if they understand it. To do that is a greater miracle than splitting of the sea. So this person who went against his entire grain and wasn't afraid and felt God's oneness and went forward, that's a greater miracle than anything that was in Egypt. So for him, he might have experienced a major wonder, and now he's inspired, and hopefully he'll go pray and help another Jew and tell him his miracle story, and the other Jew will get inspired and know he can transcend his boundaries and she can transcend her boundaries, and they'll tell another story and they'll tell another Jew, and then we'll have the ultimate redemption right away. And this big fake pile of straw where people imagine there's Gullus and Limit will be lit and will light right on here. Amen. We should head into the ultimate redemption through Mashiach, our righteous Redeemer. We go to meet the slave up to ultimate redemption. Be here, remain right away. Amen. Alright, that's exciting. Felt a little better. Still battling a little something, but we'll get there. God's help. God's a lot. Got our mind to promise how much bigger God is. Well, let's bring it down. What Chassidus does is gives us a way to take all these ideas and make it intellectual, in a way that we can get it and repeat it and teach it. Alright, so going out of Egypt means transcending any type of limit, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. There was a physical going out of Egypt, and that led to the receiving of the Torah. I'm adding this, it didn't say it in the Mimer, where the big novelty of getting the Torah was that physicality and spirituality could merge, what they couldn't do before, which they could not do before because God's Atzmos was revealed, which is higher than physical and spiritual. His essence was revealed, His Almighty's essence. It should be blessed. This opened the chain for all future boundary bustings, all future leavings of Egypt transcending boundaries. When Atzmos is present, there are no boundaries. The physical and spiritual can blend. They're not at all separated. Then nothing is bounded. You can reach any place. So that it was revealed on a state of potential for every Jew, maybe you could say invested in their soul. The Jew has a responsibility, so to speak, to bring it from the potential into the actual. How does he do that? I think I'm a physical me, and I get up every day, I see a physical world, and you do it by remembering going out of Egypt, that Egypt was a hard land where no slave ever became free, and we all went free, and they erased us out of there, and that you got a godly soul, and more than that, you got a spark of God inside you, and that you have been growing all this time, and you'd have a spark of the Creator in you. And when God did this, He opened the potential, because you learn the Maimorim, you're lying the Bam, to transcend any limit. But it takes effort and work and refinement. It takes a lot of refinement. And that you're getting further and further each day. You're not the same now as when you were a 5-year-old. You're not the same now as when you were a 10-year-old. You're growing, you're maturing, hopefully refining and getting more godly. And that God gave you the tools, this Atzmastik, a tool to transcend all boundaries. And when you think about it, and God's power is infinite in His oneness, and you feel a little confidence, a little safe, you move through whatever the next hurdle is in front of you today with confidence and peace. Whatever it is, we talked about the lawnmower guy, we could pick something else, it could be a fish salesman with something he's dealing with, or whatever, a lady selling shaitels, whatever it is, she's afraid to call whoever she's afraid to call, God forbid. And, when she gets in touch with this transcendence and realizes she can be confident and go and trust in God, go forward, she can do it. And through breaking these boundaries more each day, we get closer to the redemption. But the key lesson seems to be that know that since God took you out of Egypt, you have the ability to break any and all boundaries, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. So remind yourself you have this ability every day. Do your best to access it. I'm thinking give yourself a taste of Mount Torah to remember how powerful the tool we're talking about here. And just go out a little bit more and more each day, or hopefully a lot of bit. Forget a little bit. Go a lot of it, take us straight into the redemption Shabbat right away. But remember, you have the ability to transcend boundary. Where did you get the ability? You got it from going out of Egypt. And God did it for you then. He'll do it for you again. I'm suggesting you look at Matan Torah, where you see physical and spirituality merging from Hashem's Atzmos. Once that's revealed, there's really, in Atzmos, there's no limits. Even limitude is unlimited, if I could say that. Even infinity is infinite in Atzmos. There's just the way the limits exist there. We talked about nature-busting miracles. The way nature exists there is infinite. The rules are infinite. They're infinite rules. Not that there's infinite number of rules, but the rules exist on an infinite state, not a locked, rigid state as a person might perceive them now. And all this concealment is just for the sake that you can do it. You can learn the mimer, and you can overcome the illusion, the perception. But where did you get the power to transcend all boundary? From God taking us out of Egypt, because God's with us. He's here for us. He's helping us. And if you remember that every day, it's going to help you greatly. All right. Mashiach now.